Hi, my name is Hunter Burden. I'm with Purdue Construction Engineering and Management, class of 2024. Today I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit about my first summer internship experience and kind of how that went. So to get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of who I was with and then we'll get into what I was doing. So the who and where of where I was actually at, who I was working with. I was with Morton Construction. I was within the Power Delivery Solutions subgroup of the company. I was fortunate to be in this group because it's a traveling group. Traveling is something I've always wanted to do for my work. I think it's really exciting, and so I was very fortunate to be put with this group. I also, whenever talking to my academic advisor, said I wanted to work in something with renewable energy, and so they took that and they ran with it. I was able to work on a wind farm in Sulphur, Oklahoma. It was the Glass Hands Wind Farm project. The project, in and of itself, especially compared to some of the other Mortensen projects, was actually pretty small. I didn't think it was that small whenever I first got there. You know, they have acres and acres of land that they're using for this. I thought it was massive when I first got there. But compared to some of the other projects they have, it's pretty small. It was 28 turbines, and that makes 118 megawatts of power throughout the project. And so what that actually translates to, I was curious about this whenever I first got there. That can power at only 33% capacity, at one third capacity, it can power about 13,000 houses. So that means at full capacity, it could power roughly 36,000 houses just on that project. And considering that's such a small project for someone like Mortensen, I thought that was really exciting, and I was really, really excited to work with the project. Moving on, I want to talk about maybe a little bit of what I actually did on the site. I interned as a field engineer, and so I was able to work very, very closely with the engineer. I worked on the substation, and so what that means within power, especially on the project we were on, there were three subgroups. There was transmission line, collection, and substation. And what those different things are is collection is taking the power from the wind turbines and shooting it to the substation. The substation houses a ton of equipment, but the main piece of equipment is a transformer, which ramps up the voltage to basically a usable level. And then the transmission line transmits that energy from the substation to the power grid so that it can actually be used by people. And so whenever I first got there, I knew none of this, but they taught me it very, very quickly, and I was able to pick up pretty nicely. And then I got there also at the start of the project. Whenever I got there, they were pouring concrete. And so I was there at a very good time because I could kind of jump in and see everything from the start to the finish. And by the time I was finishing, the project was almost done, especially for my sector. The wind side of things still had a couple more turbines to go up, but it was moving along really quickly. So, whenever I first got there, I was introduced to two things: the QA/QC process, which is quality assurance and quality control or quality check process, and this led me to eventually be able to track some of those things and actually do the inspections myself, which I thought was really exciting. As an intern, I never thought, especially with my first year, that I'd be able to do something like this. And so as I kind of moved forward and got a little more comfortable, they allowed me to do those sorts of things by myself. I could go out on site by myself. I could go out and do those things myself. And so then near the end of my project manager, basically my manager, who was telling me what to do all the time. I know that sounds weird, but he was the guy who coordinated with me and my engineer, per se, and actually got me some tasks that I could do. He got me and said, "Hey, can you do a QA/QC log?" And this kind of helps the owner's representative actually know where we're at, what we've been doing, and it tracks all of our QA/QCs. And I said, "Yeah, I'll start on it." And this, I would say, was probably my most exciting feat while I was there because the QA/QC log was kind of like my baby, per se, if that makes sense. Because the QA/QCs were something I worked so closely with, it was really exciting to have all my work sort of coagulate and come together to have one final project that I got to hand over to an owner's representative. Especially my first year, I never thought I'd be able to do something like that. It was really, really cool. So then another thing I got to do, like I said, whenever I first got there, they hadn't even poured concrete. So as they were doing concrete and as they were putting up steel, a lot of the test results were coming back in, and I needed to track those test results. I worked with my engineer, who at this point in the project actually wasn't on site. He was gone. And so I had to start kind of by myself and do my own thing. And so that made me pick up a lot of things. It made me learn really quickly, which at the time was scary, but in the end, it made me learn a lot. I was really excited to do it. So I tracked those sorts of things and made logs for those kind of like QA, not QA, QC, those test results. And I got to present that to the owner's representatives as well. And finally, I got to aid in meeting preparation, just making PowerPoints, documents, printing things out, things like that. That once we had these meetings, I would hand it out to everyone, and then we could all have a meeting to make sure everyone was on the same page. and that would allow us to move forward with work. And then, like I said, I gotta communicate with the owner's representative. That was probably the most intimidating part of my job, I would say, was working with the owner's reps. But that's because they're such a high up person. You know, they come on site, it's like a big deal, and so you have to make sure everyone's on their A game. Which, of course, you always want that to be the case, but it's especially like pertinent whenever an owner's representative is around. And as a first year, again, I didn't know um, as much as I should have at first. And so as I picked up things, I became a lot more comfortable talking to the owner's rep. So then by the end of it, I was really fortunate to be able to be pretty comfortable working with an owner's representative. Next, and to kind of finish out, I want to talk about some of the things I learned, especially by the end of it. Coming into construction, I always thought that I knew maybe a little more than I did. I was maybe a little more overconfident than I should have been. I'd been on small sites as a kid, and growing up through high school, I'd been on construction sites a couple times, but nothing like to do heavy work with it. So for me, something like this, the job site was absolutely massive. It was very, very scary in a way, especially my first day. I remember being really nervous because I was like, how am I going to find my place? How am I going to be able to do work? How am I going to be able to express myself and show myself that I'm a good worker? And so as I got a little more comfortable, that became a lot easier because I really found myself and was able to kind of show my work and do my work and put my name on it and be proud of it. Next, I would say that whenever you first get there, obviously they don't expect you to be an expert, but the thing I can 100% give advice on is learn quickly. And by that I mean it's okay to ask questions, but once you've learned to do something, be confident with it. You know your capabilities, and this was something I struggled with a lot. I would go to my PM all the time and be like, are you sure I should be the one doing this? I really don't know if I'm doing this right. Can you check it for me? And he really pushed for me to just kind of send it and just do it, because if I kept coming to him for advice and things like that, I would never grow as an engineer. And so he really pushed for me to do things on my own. Last but not least, I have move with a purpose. This was actually kind of a quote that one of my engineers gave me, and I thought it was really cool because working in construction, there's extremely long hours, there's a lot to do. You're never really out of things to do. And so I asked him, I was like, how do you balance everything? Like, that was kind of just sitting in the truck one day, we were driving around, and I was like, how do you balance all of the work you do? And I asked this to everyone, but he had a really cool answer. He told me, because I move with a purpose, and you should too. And what that means is, as you're doing your work, make sure you're not just doing things for the fluff of it. Make sure you're doing things with a purpose so that you can put your name on it and help move the project forward. And so then I tried to do that with every single thing I did. I tried to see how it was going to help the project move forward. I was going to see how it could kind of help people, help the people around me. And so this would be little things from tracking bolts and things like that and giving the guys cards so that they knew what bolts to install, what hardware and things like that, to anything like the QA QC log that I was extremely happy with. And so that was kind of my summer. I was able to learn a lot. I'm extremely thankful to be working with Mortensen. I actually signed with them for my second summer. And so we'll see how that goes. I expect it to be just as fun as my first one. And yep, that's it. Thanks, guys.